It's just such epic ignorance, such breathtaking boneheadedness.
What Brexit's proved, I'm afraid, is that our politicians are about as useless as the commissioners in Brussels were. We've mismanaged this totally. And if you look at simple things such as takeovers, such as corporation tax, we are driving business away from our country. Arguably, now we're back in control, we're regulating our own businesses even more than they were as EU members. Brexit has failed.
Back for you then?
Well, I wouldn't rule it out. It's not top of my bucket list, but frankly, we've not delivered on borders. We've not delivered on Brexit. The Tories have let us down very, very badly.
It's never his fault, is it? Never his fault. It's never any of their fault. He's a heckler. I told you this some years ago. He's a heckler. Should never have been allowed anywhere near the stage. Leave him at the back of the room, lobbing rotten tomatoes at the people who actually have to get on with the business of doing business. Absolutely pathetic. And even there, you see one of the trademarks of the man's grift. The OBR, you may not remember, was set up by George Osborne so that government would have independent financial advice. It's not infallible. No forecaster is. Just ask Michael Fish. But it is independent financial advice. It removed financial forecast from Treasury control after Gordon Brown's chancellorship. So it was a conservative invention designed to deliver independence to financial forecasting. All budgets, every budget is built upon OBR forecasts, except, of course, Kwasi Kwarteng's. You remember what happened to him and his mini budget. So even there, Farage is still grifting, still doing, let's not listen to the OBR. So the OBR is biased, the IMF is biased, the OECD is biased, the Office of National Statistics is biased. In fact, the only person who understands anything correctly is Nigel Farage, who's been wrong about everything. Brexit has failed. Come here a minute. Did you fall for it? More crucially, did you fall for him? Because if it was the racism that appealed to you, how are you processing the fact that some of the right-wing think tanks are predicting immigration hitting 1 million in the next couple of years? If it was the racism you fell for, how are you processing the fact that a Tory Home Secretary, after 13 years, is trying to use it as a hobby horse to drive herself to the top of her own party? If it was the racism that you fell for, how the hell do you account for the fact that immigration is higher now than it was before you cast your vote for racist reasons? Or did you fall for something else? Did you fall for him? Did you fall for Farage? I'm sure that my memory is not deceiving me, but didn't he once say this?
If Brexit is a disaster, I will go and live abroad. I'll go and live somewhere else.
Oh, well, I'm happy on this occasion to contribute to that fund, actually. I'm happy to chip in a few quid. We could get the tin, Keith, the I Told You So tin. That must have a few quid in it by now. Does it count as a charity, getting Farage out of the country? It's a shame, of course, that we're not in the European Union anymore, because then there'd be 27 countries to which he could move more or less freely. As it is, I suppose if Donald Trump became president of America again, he might be able to find a berth for himself there. But I mean it. How do we talk about something like this today? Because it is both important and unimportant. Someone so pitifully wrong about everything, being demonstrated to be wrong about everything, is not in and of itself news. It's a little bit dog bites man, isn't it? And yet, even people who saw through Farage from the very start have to acknowledge that he played a very big part in getting Brexit over the line. Without the votes that he delivered, it probably wouldn't have happened, even with Boris Johnson's opportunistic shtick. And remember, Johnson thought they were going to lose, and that would put him in a better position to become leader of the Conservative Party than backing victory. It put him up against George Osborne when David Cameron stepped down, and he would have all of the right-wing Brexiters of the party foursquare behind him. Of course, when he became Prime Minister, he got rid of everybody else, which is why we're in such a mess now with headbangers and loonies all over the cabinet, competing, frankly, it would seem, for Headbanger of the Year award. So one of the key architects, if not the key architect of Brexit, has described it as a failure. If you voted for it, who do you blame? 0345 6060 973. I'd love to dedicate the programme just to you today. I really would. I probably won't be able to because it takes a long time. Obviously, there's stages of grief, I suppose, to recognise what has happened. But I probably won't be able to. So we will have to probably spend some time asking people on the right side of history, what the hell happened to our country? How was somebody so despicable permitted to wield such influence. He was on Question Time more often than David Dimbleby, it often seemed. It was like he had a season ticket for it. How many members of the European Parliament from the Labour Party can you remember seeing on Question Time? Or the Conservative Party, actually people who understood how it worked and wanted to be part of it. This idea that the public discourse is served by putting up people who are provocative and divisive, fact-free and devoid of evidence, somehow increases the public understanding of an issue is absolutely heartbreaking. And that's why today there is no celebration. There is no happiness. There's no, what would you call it? I mean, there's vindication and validation, but it's pointless, really. There's no pleasure in it because we always knew it was going to happen. You sit here and say, oh, James, you must feel great. You've been proved right about everything. Well, no, I don't. I feel rubbish because I knew I was going to be proved right about everything. It wasn't even debatable. And now this claim that we should be removing regulations. Yeah, the reason why we obey regulations that have been in place for years is so that we can carry on selling stuff into markets that have regulations. You remove all the regulations, where are you going to sell it? Who are you going to sell it to? It's just such epic ignorance, such breathtaking boneheadedness that now dedicates itself or is now dedicated to pretending that it could have gone better. Oh, there is a good Brexit, but it goes to a different school. It's absolutely pathetic. It's a national shame, and I don't know where it ends. Labour not ready yet to really grasp the nettle. Tories, I would say, still a leader and a half away from being able to admit the truth. Or Kemi Badenoch, of all people, seems to be moving towards that position with her recognition of reality regarding this ludicrous bill that Jacob Rees-Mogg wanted to get through Parliament, abolish all EU laws. Do you know what that is? That's legislation as racism. It's actually incredible when you dig into it, what that is all about. It's saying, I don't care what a law is. I don't care how good a law is. I don't care how effective a law is. I don't care how helpful a law is. I don't care how beneficial a law is. I don't care how good a law is. If it was passed into law while we were members of the European Union, and it's a law that other European Union countries also abide by, then we must get rid of it. I'm not sure that everybody fully understands the idiocy of this position, this rationale. Do you remember Martin Luther King's speech about character, about caring more about the content of someone's character than the colour of their skin? Right? Now imagine that's a law, and you care more about what it says on the tin, if you like, or where the law came from than you do about what the law does or what the law says. Is that a good law? Well, did we pass it while we were in the European Union along with all our other fellow members? Yes, we did. No, but then it's a bad law. But Jacob, don't you need to know what the law is before you decide whether it's a good law or not? No, I just need to see the colour of the law's skin. If it's a foreign law, then it's a bad law. Okay, but some of these laws were Margaret Thatcher's idea. Yeah, but they're still foreign. That's what it is. And they're still inflating that balloon. They're still tooting on that trumpet, that idea that you can have bad law based on where it came from instead of what it does, what it addresses or what it achieves. And there it is, Nigel Farage now saying that Brexit has failed. I don't want beef today, although if you serve me beef, I will chew it. But I don't want beef today. I want regret. And I don't want apologies. I want remorse. And I don't have blame. I have forgiveness. Because I have said from the start, contempt for the conmen. And there was no bigger conman than Nigel Farage. Compassion for the conned. It's in danger of sounding patronising. It's in danger of sounding condescending. But it's not. It's how I was raised. It's compassion. And if you got mugged, I feel sorry for you. If you got bamboozled, I feel sorry for you. If you've had your bank account rinsed by a scam artist, I feel sorry for you. If you've had your vote stolen by a liar, I feel sorry for you. There comes a point where my sympathy expires. And that point is close now. Because if it wasn't clear to you then that you were putting your trust in someone utterly undeserving of it, then it has to be clear to you now. Because he's admitting it's a failure, as it was bound to be, and he's trying to blame it on other people, as he was bound to do, and he's dismissing expertise and evidence, as he has always done, and he's treating you like a mug, which is what his entire life has been built upon. So here is Nigel Farage, somebody who, thankfully, we don't have to spend a lot of time talking about or worrying about anymore, admitting that his life's work has been an abject failure, pretending that it is somehow the fault of other people as opposed to the fault of cold, hard reality. And your ability to cling on to the carcass of what he sold you should, by rights, be disappearing as I speak. Shouldn't it? Because if he's disowned it, what are you left with? You have two choices. You either abandon ship and join the rest of us in the lifeboats, or you continue to believe the lies. You continue to pretend or genuinely believe that it is somehow the fault of the people charged with implementing Brexit that has gone badly. And if you're in that second category, again, I don't necessarily want beef with you, although I'm not sure you qualify as compassion for the conned anymore. I do wonder. I do wonder how you lie straight in bed at night, actually. But because I get it. I get the desperation, especially if you had so much invested in it emotionally. You've fallen out with friends and family. You spent that night and a year afterwards drinking Remainer tears and laughing at people who understand things and feeling like finally the tyranny of the boneheaded was upon us and you were going to be king. I get that. I understand how heady that must have been, how intoxicating that must have been. But look around. Just look around. Look at what you've done. And think how kind it is of anybody to say that we don't actually blame you, we blame the people who conned you. So if you're still signing up for the con, if you're still pretending that it could have gone differently, that it could somehow have been Brave New World, that it could somehow have been unicorns for everybody and jam tomorrow, you're still doing that, then we are in danger, or you are in danger of losing my lifeline of compassion, because I don't get that anymore. How much proof would you need? Not only everything from tomato rationing in British supermarkets to Nigel bloomin' Farage describing it as a failure. What would it take for you to say, if not sorry, then at least whoops? 0345 60 973 is the number you need. John, I disagree, mate. It's not Idiot's Corner by any stretch of the imagination, but you say Schadenfreude is the only game in town. Enjoy it. You can't enjoy it. I got teenage kids. I look around at the opportunities that they've been denied. I look around at the economic damage they will probably be seeking to repair in years to come. I look around at the damage to our international reputation. Everywhere you look, you see the consequences of treating Nigel Farage like an honest broker, like a serious actor, like a decent man. There it is. Wherever you turn, you see the consequences of it. Kids can't study abroad anymore, anywhere like as easily as they used to. People with homes that they saved and scrimped and spent their lives looking forward to living in come retirement can't do it unless they make profound changes to their existence. Everywhere you go, everywhere you look. And yet here he is. Oh, it's a failure. I may make a comeback. I'm fine. I've got a TV show. Told you that. I told you they'd be fine. Nothing will touch them. They'll be absolutely fine. They'll all be fine. Every single one of them. Rocco Forte yesterday. Yeah, I might emigrate to Italy. It's awful in the European Union. That's why I backed Brexit and gave £100,000 to the Conservative Party. But the way things are going in this country, I might emigrate to Italy. It's awful in the European Union, but I might emigrate to Italy. Rocco Forte. What an absolute clown. And they're everywhere. Everywhere you turn, these people. They're not going to be touched by it. Rishi Sunak, he's got what, £700 million to fall back on? You think he's going to struggle with the cost of living? Jeez. See, there's no Schadenfreude. There's no joy in this. I've got to go.